Are you overwhelmed by the challenge of personalizing communication for thousands of students? That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. From nudging prospective students to guiding those already on their journey, AI assistants don't just automate. They write, build, and optimize every step of your digital campaigns. Discover how at element451.com/AI team.
Welcome to Mastering the Next, a cutting-edge podcast that explores the future of graduate, online, and non-traditional education through the lens of AI and technology. I'm your host, Dr. Ray Lutsky, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Element 451. Join me every 2 weeks for discussions with some of the thought leaders shaping the future of graduate enrollment management through technology. Mastering the Next is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform that helps institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Today, I'm thrilled to have Dr. Jennifer Sparrow, Chief Academic Officer at the City University of New York School of Professional Studies, joining us to discuss the unique challenges and opportunities in adult education and professional studies. Dr. Sparrow will share insights into how CUNY SPS is redefining the educational landscape for adult learners through tailored programs, innovative technologies, and impactful partnerships. She'll help us navigate what's next for adult education and how these advancements are making a difference in students' lives. Dr. Sparrow, it's wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start by asking what's next for CUNY School of Professional Studies in terms of key strategies to attract and retain adult learners, and how do these strategies address the unique challenges faced by this demographic?
Well, when CUNY SPS was founded about 17 years ago, we were founded to offer the first fully online bachelor's degrees and master's degrees at the City University of New York. So that was our niche until about 2020, when the pandemic came. And so, now we're not the only online institution at CUNY, and certainly not the only online game in town. So we really had to think about, what is it going to be about CUNY SPS that can help us stand out and differentiate ourselves. We have been busy in the last year or so with a new dean, adding some new degrees and tracks in high demand fields. We've got a new data science track coming in our undergraduate program. We're working on a master's in generative AI, and we've got new tracks in nursing and healthcare and all these high demand fields. I think what has really made us stand out in the last few years is the Credit for Prior Learning program, which we've been working on. I started it in 2014, but it's really taken off in the past couple of years, and I'm so delighted about it. In this past academic year that just ended, we did we looked at our undergraduate population, and 50% of the people who received bachelor's degrees had some form of credit for prior learning on their transcript. And that's quite remarkable. One of the first years that we looked at this, it was down around 12%. And it just makes a huge difference for adult learners. It saves them time. It saves them money. And I think just having dealt with this, with the students, I don't get to talk to them as much now in my new role as I used to, but I think it shows respect for what they know and what they can do. These are not people who are 18 years old. These are people who have had lives and have careers. And I think one of the kind of turnoffs for this population is to go into a classroom and sort of be treated like a blank slate. So I'm an evangelist for credit for prior learning. I really believe in it. And it's one of the things that I'm most proud of that I've done here at CUNY SPS.
That's really amazing. It is. And I kind of want to jump ahead to something I was going to ask you later because you just kind of sparked interest.
Sure.
It is a common barrier for adult learners that they do feel like they have to come in and start at square one to pursue a degree. And you've built this incredible prior learning credit program. And so how have you seen that address the challenges to facilitate a smoother transition and a successful outcome for adult learners?
It's taken quite a bit of work across the school. I think when we first got started with this, it was really important to communicate the availability of credit for prior learning to students. But what I was finding is that people were hearing about it kind of late in their academic career. And the credit for prior learning has to fit somewhere in a student's academic plan. Most of degrees are general education courses. Then there are required courses in the major, and then maybe there are elective courses or minors. But the credit for prior learning has to fit somewhere. So when someone comes, hears about it, but they only have maybe 3 more courses to take, if the prior learning doesn't match, what is taught in those 3 courses, then it becomes kind of wasted learning. So we have really worked hard with our amazing transfer credit office to front load this credit for prior learning. A couple of programs that I want to talk about today, the credit for prior learning is built into the application process. So when someone comes in, they're prompted to upload the credentials or the certification or the license that they hold. And that credit for prior learning credit is transcribed along with any transfer credit that they might be bringing in from other colleges. So instead of waiting and discovering, oh my gosh, I'm a rising senior and I could have been taking advantage of this, it's added in right along with the transfer credit. So that way we don't have people discover too late that they took a course that they might have been able to receive credit for prior learning for. And, in tandem with that, it is promoted in our admissions materials and in our marketing materials. So it's for prior learning to have the most impact and do the most good, it has to be front loaded.
It's clear you're doing an amazing job tailoring your programs to meet the specific needs of adult and non-traditional students. And I'm curious, you mentioned a little bit about this, but what feedback mechanisms do you use to ensure that they're being well served, or even that the programs you're serving with, the programs you're offering, remain relevant? Like you mentioned, data science and generative AI. What feedback mechanisms are you using to get what you need from students?
Honestly, I think this is a place where it's a growth area for us. It's a place where we could do a better job. Like all colleges, we do semesterly student course evaluations, but then you're getting the data, the information, after the course has ended, and it's not immediately actionable. So yes, you can look at that information and try to course correct for the next semester, but you can't do anything about the students who just had a suboptimal experience. So we have our IR director has been exploring some ways, whether through a student success system like EAB Navigate, or other systems where we can embed, really just like you get on the internet, quick feedback surveys into every interaction so that people can give us feedback in real time and we're not waiting and acting on something after the fact. As I said before, it's, also in terms of being relevant and effective, it's not enough anymore just to say that we're adult friendly because we're online. So I think what we need to think about more is, an asynchronous online class is flexible in the sense that a student, can log in any time of day or night and do the work, but it's not necessarily flexible in the sense that, there are still deadlines. Things still have to be turned in by midnight on Saturday night. And I've thought a lot about that because, we have students, in the nursing program, the nurses can have very kind of intense shifts where they might work 4 12-hour days in a row and then have time off. But that kind of thing really, that doesn't work so well with with hard deadlines. So I think to be truly flexible, I've really been looking at and interested in competency-based education, which can be truly self-paced. We don't have this model right now, but I really like, I think it's Capella that does it. It's almost like an all-you-can-learn model that you pay a certain amount for your semester's tuition, and the student can go through the curriculum as quickly or as slowly. They might be able to speed through the stuff that they already have a good grasp of and then slow down for the things that are going to take more time. That's something I would like us to work toward, is a more truly flexible option for adult learners. And the other thing I like about competency-based education, going back to credit for prior learning, is that credit for prior learning assessment, if it's done with a portfolio model, you're always looking to match the learning to a particular course. But if the prior learning doesn't match all of the learning outcomes of a particular course, then it can't substitute. So to be truly flexible so then that's another situation where you have lost learning. What if I know 3 of the learning outcomes of a course, but not the other 3? Our current credit for prior learning model, that student wouldn't have any other option. But with competency-based education, like I said before, you could kind of speed through what you already know and then slow down and learn the rest.
That's amazing. And that flexibility is certainly valuable, especially when you're talking about serving the needs of adult professionals who may be working, which is probably part of the reason why it's hard to even get feedback from them, because they're already so busy with their jobs and trying to complete their program. And I'm curious, you've mentioned some pretty innovative approaches to offer that flexibility. And I'm sure as a tenured faculty member and working with a lot of the faculty, you hear a lot about the maintenance of academic rigor and making sure that that stays in place. How do you balance that need for flexibility with the need to maintain academic rigor in programs that are designed for adult learners?
The professors might disagree with me, but in terms of workload, our courses are capped at 25, which is, smaller than many colleges, but it can still be considered high for an online course, which are quite labor intensive. Going back to what I said before, in terms of rigor, yes, you want to be flexible and, give the students, maybe not make such hard deadlines, being respectful of the fact that they're adult learners and have busy lives. But on the other hand, the semester still has a deadline by which grades have to be submitted. And if I were to put myself back in my professor role, I also wouldn't want to be teaching a course where the deadlines were so flexible that the students were turning in, 75% of their coursework in the last couple of weeks of the semester, because that's not fair to the professor. So it's kind of a balancing act between flexibility and being considerate of our faculty. So that's one thing that I kind of think about and try to balance when we're in terms of rigor. Learning outcomes assessment is not anybody's sort of favorite thing to talk about, but I think, but I have to say, I actually really enjoy learning outcomes assessment. We've had some great experiences, both in person and virtually, when we've got, faculty, a half dozen faculty who teach the same course coming together to, read and score against a rubric, a final assignment or different course assignments. It's a great faculty development experience. We always find areas for improvement. Sometimes we've discovered academic integrity issues, but it's nice for people to be able to be together and talk about this. One of the things that maybe doesn't get talked about so much in terms of what it's like to be an online professor is that it can be kind of lonely. And so having the chance to gather with colleagues and actually talk about what we're doing, it enforces or supports the academic rigor, but it's also a great way to bond with your colleagues.
Hey, it's Dr. Ray Lutsky. Element 451 is hosting the AI Engage Summit on October 29th and 30th. This free virtual event features many of your favorite Enrollify creators and will explore AI's impact on student engagement, enrollment marketing, and institutional success. Learn how to tap into the power of AI to turn data into actionable insights, utilize predictive analytics, and monitor and support student performance. Plus, hear directly from current students on how AI is influencing their engagement and campus life. Don't miss my session, The New Traditional Students, online, working, and skills focused, on October 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern. The AI Engage Summit is your guide to understanding and applying AI at your school. Registration is free. Visit element451.com to save your spot. Now, back to the show. That's really interesting. I've talked with many faculty who are divided on the topic of online learning. Some really enjoy teaching online courses, and then some really dislike it and prefer that in-classroom experience. So you've talked a lot about how you're working with online programs and asynchronous programs in particular. And I'm curious how you're leveraging innovative learning formats and technologies to enhance the educational experience for these adult learners in an online modality.
I don't know that this is particularly innovative, but the thing that we're really grappling with right now at CUNY SPS and also at other CUNYs is that we just moved in June to a new learning management system, university-wide. And that's been a gigantic lift. We did it in June, but our summer session is much smaller than fall. So I would compare it to moving into a new house. Everything from the old LMS course is kind of, dumped into the living room of the new house. But then you have to go around and put everything in the right place and make sure that, that the microwave works. And it's been a really big job. So that's one thing that we're experiencing right now. And I think another piece I'm thinking about quite a bit is, and it's also, it's innovative for us because we've always had, and we tell students that our courses are asynchronous. But, in the past 4 years or so, since everybody, is now living part of their life, it seems, on Zoom or in Teams, students, I noticed in a lot of the student feedback and even in our orientation, and we have another, in addition to our new student orientation, we have what we call test flight, which is kind of a test drive opportunity, an online learning simulation where any prospective student can enroll and just have the feeling of, be in an online course for a week and try it out. And feedback, I always read the feedback from test flight. And a lot of times students are saying, oh, I thought I would have the opportunity to talk to my professor. I thought there would be live lectures. And so that's something that's another tension, because students say they want to have live interaction, but they also, it's virtually impossible to find a specific time when all of the students can be online together, especially, we've got people all around the country and all around the world. So it's hard to provide that live interaction, but also accommodate schedules. And again, I don't want to put too much of a burden on the faculty member. They cannot be available, live and on camera at all hours of the day either. Some of the other innovative learning formats that we've been looking at, we've been doing a lot of work in the last year on the internship because, everyone says that experiential learning and internships are so important. But then what does that mean for an adult learner who can't go off and, work on site somewhere for a semester? What can we do? Like, we've really done a lot with encouraging people in their current place of work to see if they could take on a project in a different area, some other area that they're interested in, maybe an area that they'd like to move into once they have the bachelor's degree. So could they go do something in this area and use that as an internship? Made some use of an organization called Parker Dewey, which has micro internships. It's almost like kind of piecework internships where students can bid on a job. It's kind of a defined project, and they receive pay for that. So that's another sort of after credit for prior learning. Internships is the thing I've been focused on, and I'm in the last few years, and I've really been trying to grow that experience. we're looking at internship and credit for prior learning as really two sides of what we call experiential learning, right? So an internship is credit for a learning experience that you haven't had yet, or a new learning experience. And credit for prior learning is credentialing and giving credit for prior experiential learning.
It's interesting and amazing to think about how you've been able to craft those innovative strategies. I would say those are innovative to support adult learners' career advancement. And I know that that goes beyond what you're doing with your curriculum and goes into the realm of partnerships. And I was curious if you could share some examples of how CUNY SPS has partnered or collaborated with other organizations to help make a tangible impact on the career advancement of your learners.
Well, as you know, we have worked with InStride, and it's been really a great opportunity to serve a new population of adult learners by working with an intermediary between the employers and the colleges. So we have that partnership, which has actually worked out quite well for SPS. Another one that is a more kind of homegrown partnership is something that we call the Academic Pathways Partnership. And this is with several, we really call them community-based organizations, but they're organizations that provide tech training to underserved young people. And this is kind of interesting because the population is a little bit younger than our typical SPS student. But we work with an organization, we work with Perscolis and with Empower, which are both located here in NYC, but are also national, and opportunities for a better tomorrow. And all of these programs offer different technical training tracks to young people, and they come out of the program often having had an internship experience, having had kind of classroom experience, and with different IT certifications, such as Google certifications or Amazon Web Services, CompTIA, Oracle. We've worked with these providers and analyzed their curriculum and evaluated different industry credentials that learners come out of the organizations with. For, I think the highest award we have is 15 free credits. So the students can come and matriculate into CUNY SPS from one of these training programs, and they're going to have some credit for prior learning, 3 credits, like up to a semester under their belt. These students are doing really well. Again, I think it's motivating. Often these are people who might not have considered themselves to be college material, or who really might not have thought of going to college, but the motivation of knowing that what they've already learned has been evaluated by a college and is creditworthy. It's incredibly motivating. And what I really love about this partnership also is that for the last couple of years, there's been this narrative of, is college worth it? Should people just go to boot camps? Why do they need to go to college? And I think this is a great partnership because it's bridging that non-credit to credit divide. It's creating a new kind of on-ramp into higher education for graduates of training programs. We're really trying to figure out how to escape that either or. So we've been doing this now since 2020. We've had people come through and graduate. And I'm noticing that our inquiry email for this program comes up in my email feed, and I'm seeing more and more students who are even at other colleges currently who said, "Oh, hey, I'm a graduate of Perscolis, and I just heard that I could come over here and get these credits." So, like a plant that you have to nurture and grow, but it's really putting down roots, and so. The partnerships are placing people, they're getting them that kind of entry-level job in an organization. That's really the goal of most of these providers. But in spite of, as I was saying before, the narrative about is college worth it, a lot of them, when they look, when they want to take that next step and move up, then the bachelor's degree becomes kind of the ticket to entry. So I'm glad that we can help people get to that next level.
You really are inspiring folks to get to the next level, especially adult working professionals who may not have had these opportunities. And I'm just wondering, from your vantage point, using your academic crystal ball, What is the future impact of adult education and professional studies like this on students and their careers and their personal growth? Where is this all going?
My crystal ball. I think that what we're going to be seeing for adult education and professional studies, and maybe for higher ed generally, is a more of an incremental approach to recognizing learning. Not that it's just going to be the bachelor's degree, going to be the master's degree. Short-term credentials, stackable credentials, and true lifelong learning, so that people aren't just, one and done. They're coming back to upskill. A problem that I see, I'm not the first one to see it, but is that the whole credential ecosystem is so messy. There are thousands and thousands of different options of micro-credentials, certifications. Colleges offer them. Coursera offers them. How does one decide what the best path is? How would a potential learner know which one of these is going to help me get a promotion? Which one of these credentials is going to help me get a job? And colleges have struggled with this too. A lot of time and effort has gone into the micro-credential creation movement with mixed results. So I'm very inspired by and encouraged by the work of an organization or a group called Credential As You Go. They've really been working on kind of bringing some order to this whole space, to coming up with some shared definitions of what we mean when we say a certificate or a credential or a micro-credential. And I think the goal is to have, and I know some states have done this, but the goal would be to have a shared understanding that the knowledge truly is portable, the credit truly is transferable. If I earn this credential in New York, and if I go to Michigan, someone will still recognize it. So I think that's where I think things are moving and where I think things should move.
And it's top of mind for a lot of folks working with adult populations and professional degree-seeking students. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, Dr. Jennifer Sparrow, Chief Academic Officer at the City University of New York School of Professional Studies.
Thank you, Ray. It's been a pleasure.
The Mastering the Next podcast is a part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea, and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Artis Cadieux, J.C. Bonilla, Mallory Wilsey, Brendan Henkel, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.